A pleasure to meet all at last, and welcome back once again to Nerf Secrets Revealed Aftersought Part 2. So of course, with all the rival stuff that we had gotten since they brought it back full-time in 2022, with a good total of around 6 different blasters to choose from, it really is an amazing piece. But with supposedly 7 and 8 on the way by the end of 2024, we do have ourselves quite a lot to choose from. Rival Upgraded, as I've referred to this new series, does comprise of the blasters with that unique blue, yellow, orange, green, and black color scheme, as well as a heavily modified, newer variation of HIR or high impact rounds. Well, here we got another piece of 2023's showcase of Rival Upgraded, the Hermes. At least that's the rename that I've given to this particular kind of blaster. I'd say this one is a heavily powerful and quite rambunctious little beast right here. And on the basis of it being shotgun oriented, I would almost think of this more like the Bullfrog or PPSH-01 from various Call of Duty titles. You know, the one where it had that weird drum magazine below the muzzle, as well as with priming being right underneath the barrel, the tip itself. I'd say in this Accord, this does sort of make it more different than what it might stand out to be. It might be shotgun-like, but of course, I'd see this being way more than that. But in overall, its functionality is just shotgun-like, based on how it is stock. But, not to worry, because we'll definitely be fixing that up when it comes to the Invisible It mod. But first, I'll just showcase real quick about various details of this. Obviously, the color scheme, as we know, has that unique blue and yellow contrasting with the black and orange. And then, of course, you have yourself a translucent green iron sight bit on the top. Basically, the male and female portions are different in color scheme. But in accordance with sight, for example, we do have the unique sight adjustments. Doesn't really add a whole lot, but it does seem to be a nice piece that they add on to the top. And while it is unnecessary, it still is cool that we have the ability to customize our sights to begin with. Even though that's something we could already do with various attachments like the Long Strike's double scope piece that it comes attached with. And as you can see right here, this is basically the inline clip at which that it can hold up to 10 HIR rounds. And when it comes to the rounds as a whole, as I've said, they kind of have more of a football sort of feel to them, as you can see. That unique hexagon or honeycomb pattern to it, along with circular cutouts on the sides, as well as a unique stripe that runs down the middle, does allow for these rounds to, believe it or not, fly further, have much better accuracy than regular HIR rounds that are the yellow variation and sometimes other colors. And most importantly, they definitely fly way more straight and sharp in contrast to the other ones. So it's no secret that Nerf had definitely been holding back on us from Rival almost on purpose. Like they wanted to eliminate Rival in favor of the so-called Hyper line, which we obviously know didn't quite work out in many ways. But in the end, we definitely have something that we definitely came for. And I'm more than happy to have this around for probably years to come, considering that we have 3 blasters in 2024 that come around, as well as with the usage of some new banana magazines, as well as motorized capabilities. I'd say this series is going to be around for a long time. Rival Upgraded might be the best thing that we've gotten in Rival history, hands down. So, of course, with all that implies, I sure am beyond happy to have this series still come around, even though Nerf had tried to stop them from showing up ever again. But of course, we do have other details worth mentioning. There are no tactical rails on these blasters, which can be a bit of a bummer, but this does allow for the excuse to no longer bring around any sort of crappy attachments, or heavily expensive ones. Because let's face it, Nerf has in fact made some pretty expensive pieces. The red dot sights, the flashlight foregrip, and other things have also come around, some of which were in fact made as third-party accessories or Etsy crafted stuff, basically. Like, you know, those customized hoppers that came around? Yeah, those were mostly expansions that you could put onto the top of the Perseus or Nemesis. Yeah, those were indeed pretty useful because they could double or even triple the capacity. Even the Prometheus had those extremely ginormous things that might as well just be like that giant plastic box that Danny Gunn put on top of his Prometheus on the Gun vs. Gun YouTube channel. So, it's no secret that a lot of people want to try and be like Gun vs. Gun. So, like I said, you got safety here because these rounds are even more powerful than the last ones. And well, we're officially out of rounds. But you know what? I'd say that's totally fine because with all that we have here, I'd say it's time we get to testing on the good old Invisibullets. And you know what? That actually was pretty satisfying. Because with all the kickback that I got here, in coordination with the likes of its profile, and in conjunction to the kind of rounds that it originally uses, the recoil on that, despite how powerful this was, and a much tougher spring is integrated into this, by the way, the kickback on this was actually a relatively minor factor. I feel like that the spread could have been a bit more improved, but maybe give it time and a couple more beta relative tests as opposed to alpha or pre-alpha would at least give us a good excuse to try this out again. Probably not on camera though. I might update this elsewhere in accordance with how the test goes down and how successful it goes. I feel like that if I bring this along to, let's say, Nerf Secret Reveal distance gauge, that probably would be a good way to have it around. But in any other case, compared to what I've done today, I'd say this is a good way to call it a day. So all in all, the rival Hermes is a pretty awesome piece. Something worth grabbing a hold of. And because of how cheap they sell these right now, it's probably even more worth it than you might think of it. It has a great color scheme, it has some nice pump action to it, and with the Invisibullet mod working pretty well, despite a couple of little tweaks I might need to perform, I'd still have the encouragement and the content to be able to give this a good scoring of at least maybe 8.7 out of 10.1. So after everything I've done with this blaster and after all the stuff that I've done over the past week, I'd say some more tests will be necessary, but I might need to get back to work on making sure other blasters are ready to go for some more testing in the next week. So I will be back once again with more of this stuff. And I'll see you guys later here in Aftersought Part 2.